Hey everyone, welcome to Average Joe Preparedness. My name is Rick, and I'm an Average Joe. It's been a little bit, so I figured I'd sit down and make a video, stand up, make a video real fast. I'll go over just a few things. Since it's been a little bit, it might be more than a few things. You know how that goes when I make these videos. But as usual, we start with basic emergency preparedness, then we go practical preparedness, which is kind of big, and then we move up sometimes into worst case scenarios. Not very often, there's a lot of channels out there for that. But starting down here, basic emergency preparedness and real life. Yes? So I don't usually do things exactly when they're happening. I usually wait a little bit because everybody jumps on bandwagons and stuff. And I like to see how it goes for real lessons, not like halfway through and then you're just like, you make these assumptions or whatever, it doesn't matter. So, and then our lives move so fast that people tend to forget stuff. So, two things that are happening in the real world that have to do with, most would say, basic emergency preparedness, maybe in the practical preparedness area. Yes, let's go over those. Now, just a couple days ago, in the news was talking about weather events in the southeast of the United States, and a lot of people were out of power. And initially, it said there was like over 1 million people, and then really quick, I don't know if the estimate was wrong or if they were fixing it really fast. Then it was like 100,000 people, and last time I checked, it was like 10,000s, tens of thousands of people. And I think it's down to like thousands now, or somewhere close. But the point being is, in basic emergency preparedness, one of the things you prepare for is power outages. And I think I've shown you, I have a bag, and I think I brought it up here. I don't think I'm gonna do it to you guys, torture you. I have a power out bag, and it's, besides the fact that I have flashlights and headlamps and glow sticks and different things, one of the things about basic emergency preparedness or practical preparedness is not to borrow things from other things. Yes? What I mean by that is, if I have an emergency, let's say, I don't want to call them bug out bags anymore, and we're going to get back to those. Say evacuation bags. Everybody calls them bug out bags, but they get a bad reputation. And it has stuff in it, then you don't take from that if something else happens. Because it's nice, it's neat, it's compact, it's in its area, you basically leave it alone unless you're going in to check for batteries or stuff expires, this, that, and the other thing, or if I have emergency kit in my car, that's what I use it for. So for when the power is out, I've shown you guys, I have a power out bag, and it has its own flashlights and lamps, and it has candles and some matches, and I think I went so far way down in the bottom, I think it has like a cord to like dry laundry on, and little clips that little laundry clips that you actually dry laundry on. And there's other things like that. Does that make sense? It is of itself a power out. If the power out goes bag for power outages. Edit your videos better, Rick. So this happened in real life, that the power went out. And so one of the things about basic emergency preparedness, just basic, that not a lot of people can argue about, is to be ready when the power goes out. And however that means for you guys. If it's to go somewhere else, to have plans, to have cash on hand. If the power goes out, the ATMs aren't working, you can't get money out of the bank, it's a good idea. And see how this like goes from one thing to the next, to have flashlights, to have batteries that are there, to have ways of keeping yourself cool or keeping yourself warm, depending on what the weather is, to have cash on hand or prepaid Visa cards once you get out of that area, or if those will work, or having gas in your car, like 3/4 of a tank, or having extra gas that you can fill up your car and take it with you to, you see how all these things go doo, 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 doo. So yeah, it happened in real life, and so I just figured I'd mention that real fast. Okay, next thing, bug out bags or evac bags or whatever acronym or word you want to use for them, because some people are like, you don't need one no matter what, because then they say a bug out bag is like run off into the woods, or you don't need it because why do you need, if you're gonna just leave an area, if you're just gonna evacuate, why would you need a first aid? You know, there's all these arguments, and I'm not going to get into into the details. If you need a bug out bag, if you decide you need one, then you need one. And if you decide you want to put stuff in it, that's your decision, right? I'll go over a wide variety of things and reasons why I've done it, and maybe things I haven't done, but other people have, because everybody's got their own reasons. But here's the thing, Hawaii, yes, Maui, I think it's still on fire, but I know last couple of days, it's moving so fast that it's killing people. They call them wildfires, but it's basically the island, and it's taking out houses and businesses, and people supposedly, I wasn't there, guys, I'm just telling you what's in the news, people are jumping into the ocean to escape this fire. Well, it sounds like on the surface, people didn't have a lot of time. Maybe they weren't prepared. Maybe they weren't paying attention to the news. Maybe the wind changed. I don't know. I'm not going to argue about it. That's not neither here nor there. But I'll tell you what, some of them might be happy if they had a bag they could just grab and run with, or throw it in their car, or a tote. You know, it doesn't always have to be a bag. If you're going to evac somewhere, it could be a tote. It's in your garage and you throw it in your car. Some people might keep it in their car all the time, or rely on, now we're going to skip over to the bags that I have in my car. Like I have an emergency bag in my car, and I also have a get home bag in my car, and I could throw this in my car. Basic emergency preparedness. People don't want to talk about it. The vast majority people don't want to do it, and because it's never going to happen to them. That's usually what people say is, well, it's never going to happen to me, I don't have to worry about it. Okay, well, odds are sooner or later it is going to happen to you, and if you're not worried about it, who is? Yes. But hey, what do I know? I'm just an average Joe. So yeah, that's my opinion on those two things. Two things that actually happen in real life, and they kind of tend to go with basic emergency preparedness in one way or another, in my opinion. Okay, next thing, and I have notes. You guys remember, I don't know what video it was. I don't even know if I'm going to put one there. When I finally told you guys about the weed killer that I have. Well, InfoU, I've been using that weed killer for years. For like 4 or 5 years, I've been using that weed killer. Before I brought it up to you guys. Yes? And then I just happened to see a video. It was pretty funny. I'm laughing at this, so I need you guys to laugh with me. So I saw one do a video on basically the same exact weed killer, except their video was awesome. I mean, it had these cut shots and these fades and these close-ups. But the difference was they had never used it before. They were using it for the first time on their video, and then like the next day they showed the results. So there's different ways of getting information, guys. Really nice videos is one, and maybe not so nice videos, i.e. here, is another. But one thing you won't get from me, usually, hopefully, I don't break this. If somebody does, I'm sure there's somebody out there that's going to remind me. Is I'm only going to tell you something if I've done it for a long time. Not I tried it yesterday and now it's here. I mean, I used that thing for years, but that video was way better than mine. Yes, exact same recipe, exact same thing. Like I said, I didn't invent it. I got it off the internet years and years ago, and it does work, but apparently I need to come up with better videos. So if you're sitting through my cruddy videos, these lowbrow, low budget videos, then I appreciate it. But I'm going to let you know something. The information is just as valid as that really cool video. Yes? Next subject is suburbia. Now, I make it perfectly clear that that's where I live. I live in suburbia, and that's why I have to do certain things that people may or may not agree with, i.e. my front yard and keeping stuff clean and being nice to my neighbors and not doing crazy stuff because I live in suburbia. But I did notice there are videos out there, one particularly. Now, it wasn't lately. I sat on this one for a while because there's a content creator I don't agree with. I don't agree with what they're selling on their channel constantly. I don't agree with 70% of their opinions on certain things. When it comes to certain things, that doesn't matter. And I don't call them out because I don't call out negative. However, I said 70% because I do agree with one thing. And what he was discussing was suburbia. And then I saw another video recently, two guys, you know, they do the videos with like 2, 3, 4 people. Yeah, so it was 2 guys, and they were talking about it too. Suburban preparedness. Most of the time, it's like you're in the city, and they talk about how you got to get out, and if you know, things you can do and get out of the city, and then they kind of go up to here to like homesteading and farms and stuff, and a lot of times they miss suburbia. You with me? Just the average people. On the second video, I watched the 2 guys talking. They were talking about it. It's like 70%. I'm using that number again, but I'm pretty sure it was like 70% of people who talk about, you know, emergency preparedness. I think they live in suburbia. A lot of people live in suburbia, and it tends to get forgotten. It tends to be city, and something bad happens, Golden Horde running over all the suburbanites, and then out here these, you know, prepper paradises and farms and stuff and what they're going to do. But in between, you have suburbia, and that's where I live. Yes? So what I liked about that one content creator, what he talked about, that one content creator that I'm not a fan of, and these two individuals who reminded me of that, is suburbia is actually pretty good when it comes to emergency preparedness. And because let's just go, I know my neighbors, I know my area. Uh, I People in suburbia, they go camping. You know what I'm saying? Some of them are hunters, some of them there's hikers and there's bikers, and bikers like bicycles, guys. And yeah, I think a lot of people, there's a lot missing when people don't talk about suburbia. It's one of the reasons why I do. I saw that niche kind of missed in a lot of the prepper channels. And since this is an average Joe, and the average person a lot of times lives in suburbia, if you are someone who lives in suburbia, don't worry, I got your back. And there is a lot of positive about living in the suburbs and being into emergency preparedness and in practical preparedness. So just to tie a bow on this, just to finish it off, if you live in suburbia, such as myself, like I do, don't think that you can't. Okay, you can do it way better than somebody who lives in the city. You're not going to be able to do it as well as somebody who lives out in the country if that's what they're doing. But don't be like, okay, I live in suburbia, I can't be. Obviously, anyone can do emergency preparedness, but when it comes to practical preparedness, maybe even up on this side of the scale, you can still do it. Come see my channel. There's other channels out there that touch on it, so don't be discouraged. Yes, that's the whole point. I was bringing that up. Next thing, gardening. So I saw a channel, I've talked to you guys about my gardens, and I only grow a little bit, and I mentioned before, it won't feed me. But one of the reasons I do it, and I test all kinds of stuff, and I'm working on my soils, organics, we'll get to that in a second, is I've told you that I can go from micro amounts of stuff to macro. And I saw a guy, he does farming videos for years and years and years, gardening videos, and he was talking about the same thing. Made me very happy. Unless I have to, I am not going to grow enough out here in my backyard in suburbia to feed myself. I'm not Farmer John. I'm Average Joe. You know what I'm saying? So that's one of the reasons I do it. Now, don't get me wrong. I grow organic food. I can go out there and eat it. Like right now, lettuce and spinach, and I got my corn. We can talk about that in a second. And my tomato vines are coming up, and I got pepper, and I got herbs and spices. And you guys with me? But it's all on a micro. But I can turn this macro worst case scenario, which I'm hoping never happens. Yes, but in the meantime, I have a hobby, and it's good for the environment. I practice all these good gardening. What do they call that when you're a caretaker of the soil and nature and green and all this good kind of stuff. Those are the things I do. And if you live in suburbia, one way or another, you can too. But again, to tie a bow on it, I was just very happy that someone who does it a lot was talking about that you can, it's not just me, guys. That's what I'm getting at. I try not to give you guys just silly information. I mean, I tell you if it's just me, but if it's not, I also try to give you that information also, because there's supposed to be like a trust thing going on here. And that is, he was discussing it, that yeah, micro to learn how to do it, and at any given time, you can macro it out if there's an emergency. And that, for me to grow my own food so I have to eat it, we're talking way up here, guys. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Let me see. And hopefully the next thing is organics. Organic issues. All right. So I don't know if there's any of you struggling along, learning how to garden, learning how to grow things, because once again, it takes years to do. I didn't know zucchini plants take up so much room. I know that now for next year. And real quick, speaking of my zucchini, I just finished up a loaf of zucchini bread. It tastes a lot like pumpkin bread, guys. You know what I'm saying? Or the cucumber bread that I made like last year before. I'll be making more of that too, because I got more cucumbers. So because you got to figure out what to do with this stuff once you have it. But yeah, a zucchini plant is huge, or mine is. So now I know how much room it takes. And apparently I know the sun, because it's growing really well, the sun, the soil, and again, you have to learn these things. If you're going to get into gardening, it is torture. I see all these gardening channels, and everybody's all happy, and they got smiles on their faces. They're saving the world. You know what I'm talking about? I'm exaggerating, but you get me on this one. And yeah, a lot of times off camera, I'm sure they look a lot like me, where it's like, oh man, this is rough because I don't know what I'm doing. It's taking me a long time to learn. And organics. All right, let's get into that. I'd like to think that not emergency preparedness, but practical preparedness, if you're into practical preparedness, sooner or later, you're going to want to get into organics. And the reason being is because you're less dependent on the system, and there's less chemicals you're having to deal with, that supply issues, you're not going to be able to get that stuff again. So you need to learn how to make it at home, and recycling, reduce, reuse, recycling. I think people that are into preparedness eventually become hippies, kind of, sort of. Let's control it. I don't have a tie-dye shirt or peace beans. So anyways, yeah, so organics, be aware. I've mentioned it before, I will mention it again. If you're doing things organically, it takes a lot more time and it can be more expensive. We've discussed the expense because it's not mass produced, but it takes more time. The good news is it's worth it. I have more confidence in eating my food. I have more confidence that I'm not poisoning the area. I have more confidence that I can do it on my own without that supply chain issues. Yes? Yes. But be aware, if you do things organically, I think I bumped you. If you do things organically, it takes time. Yes? But I'm seeing the fruits of my labor this year. The soil in my yard, I told you it died, and there's this thing that when it dries out, then the soil compacts because all the moisture has been removed. And so it's like hard as a rock, and oxygen and nutrients don't get down there, and blah, blah, blah. So it's working, but it's working slowly, because a lot of the stuff you do when it's organically, it's not immediately available to the plants. I.e., and this is what I kept wondering, what the hell does that mean? It's not immediately, it has to be like, they don't use the word process, they use another word for it. But basically, it has to go through the little enzymes and worms. Basically, it's their byproduct. I don't know what word you guys want me to use without sounding bad. Basically, it's their poo. Yes. So a lot of things you do has to be processed before it's available to plants. Yes. Now, compost, not so much. Compost is more readily available. But a lot of the stuff you buy, the chemicals that are bad for your stuff, it's immediately available to whatever it is you're growing. But it doesn't do anything to the soil. See, this does stuff to the soil, to the whole like ecosystem that's down there, or more organic things. And then it's available to your plants. But it takes time, and it's not boom, and it's not fast, and it's slow, and it's painful, and it kills me. But I'm being honest with you guys, so that way you know what you're getting into. So if you're going to go organic, which I think anyone who's a prepper, I'm repeating myself, anybody who's into preparedness is probably going to go that way for multiple reasons, then be aware of the pain. And if you go back and watch my videos for the last couple of years, I've been talking about the pain of learning how to grow things. I don't know if you can see how that's been true, so please trust me on this organic thing. It's true also. Okay, now I'm going to try to tie a few things together. Snakes. I've talked to you about how I wrangle snakes. I have one of those old people grabbers, and when I find them in my yard, they're just garter snakes. I grab them. I send them out to the storm drain. The storm drain actually, by the way, I've mentioned that the storm drain eventually goes out to the farmers' fields. There's open drains. It actually, there's a pond, there's a lake. It goes to that also. So, info you, when I throw the snakes down the storm drain, they live. Okay, and hopefully they live happily ever after, just not in my yard. But this year I noticed I have got more snakes. I normally, I average 3 average size snakes. I'm off screen, but when they curl up, they're not that big. A year, that's what I do, 3. And so this year I'm at 5. 2 of those have been baby snakes, and I haven't really seen baby snakes before. I missed one baby snake, so that doesn't count, but that's a 6th one I've seen. And there was a huge snake, which I mentioned that I missed. So that's 7. That's 7 snakes this year. And that's more than average. So my brain works chutes and ladders sometimes. So I'll think about something and then it'll go away until something reminds me of it, or I come up with a potential solution. So I've told you guys, like, each day I go out in the front yard with my little old people grabber, and I pick up garbage and stuff, and I wave at my neighbors, and I make sure everything's neat and clean on my street. And I noticed something. And I think it has to do, I should have noticed a long time ago, put 2 and 2 together. But compared to when I was a kid, I'm out there and there's nobody outside. And I live in a pretty average suburbia. You guys with me? And I go out at different times of the day, and I'm outside at least once an hour. If you know, you know. So I'm outside at least once an hour, in front, in back, whatever. And I can tell you right now, nobody goes outside. And I'm talking about grown-ups and kids. And I think it has to do with modern conveniences. If it's just a little warm, people are inside with the air conditioner. If it's just a little cold, people are inside with the heater. The kids aren't outside playing like back in the day. I'm a Gen Xer. You were outside. That's where you were. It's just the way. You see those TikTok things that are pretty funny about Gen Xers? But basically, technically, it's true. Is yeah, we were outside all the time, and I'm outside, like I said, at least once an hour for long periods of time, by the way, and no one's out there. And I thought about it like in the books and the stories about, yeah, when something bad happens and there's nobody out there, nature's going to take back over. And sometimes I just stand there and I see the birds and I see the animals. There's animals, by the way. And like I told you, what was it last year? The squirrels, and now I've the snakes. And I'm not doing 2 + 2 is 4 on this one, guys. But it was just, it reminded me that people don't go outside. And nature, nature is kind of like in the movies, it's taken back over. Now, that might not necessarily be where you are. You're suburbia, if you're in suburbia. But I'm just telling you, when I go outside, there's not a lot of people. Nature's out there, though, because that's what nature does. You with me? So I was just a weird thought that my brain put together. Why do I have all these snakes? Well, probably because I'm the only one chasing them down. My neighbors, I can hear my neighbors when they go out in their yard because I'm sure snakes move around all the time. And yeah, people just aren't outside. It's just me. I'm in my backyard and nobody's in the other backyards. Rarely, I should say. Like 98% of the time, there's nobody out there. So basically, their yards are free to do what nature is going to do with them. Yes? Yes. Anyways, it was just a strange thought. Thought I'd share it with you. I'm sure somebody out there's going, yeah, thanks, Rick. Thanks for that strange thought. But just, I don't know. What are your thoughts? What do you think about that? Meh. Okay, and final thought. I told you guys I was going to get a generator this year. I keep messing this up. Sorry, guys. And I did. I ordered it, and it's on its way. And we'll see how well it goes. It's not a huge one. It cannot do my whole house. It's like an emergency generator because I got it for an emergencies. Maybe later on I can get a bigger one, when I can afford it, but I can only put so much money away and to get something. And sometimes good enough works. But I mean, it's decent. I think it's, what is it? It's like I think it's like a 1350 or something like that. When it gets you, I guess I can let you guys know what it is. It's a dual fuel. So it's propane and it's gasoline. It's one of those quiet ones. Why? Because I live in suburbia. You have to pay extra for those, for the quiet ones. So because I live in suburbia, some people may say there's other reasons to have a quiet generator. But if you want to use it, there's like sound limitations, decibel limitations. If you go to national parks, if I ever want to take it for something like that. So there's multiple reasons why you want to get a quiet generator. Yes? Yes. So when it gets here, I'll go over it. I'll let you know how I got it. And yeah, I didn't pay full price for it. I can tell you that much. I found out some things, and I guess I'll save it for the generator video because I got it way less than how much I should have gotten it for. And all it takes is like a little searching. And don't get me wrong, I didn't get it from like Joe Bob out of the garage or out of the back of his van or something. So, but yeah, so anyways, I got one. So it's going to make me feel a little better. Now I just need to get the peripherals because I need a window seal air conditioning, which I don't have, which I'll just store somewhere. In case during the summer the power goes out, I can use that because there's no way I could use my HVAC. I could use fans, but I'd rather have an air conditioner. You guys know what I'm talking about. And if I'm not mistaken, I think I got me some little electric heaters. I'm probably going to look into, because technology is always improving. I'll see what the most, energy efficient electrical heater. Those things take a lot of power, but I'll try to find the most energy efficient electrical heater I can find. Yes? Just a reminder, if you haven't figured it out, remember, a lot of this channel is you guys taking my journey with me. And so I've been doing this for years, and I just got a generator. Yes, I openly admit it. If you're giggling at me, I have no problem with it. Giggling with me? Giggling with me, I hope. So if you're giggling with me, I have no problem with that. So, yep, generator, yeah. So let me think. Yeah, I think that's about it. So we're going to go ahead and finish this up. I hope this finds you well. I hope you are happy. I hope you are staying positive. And I hope for whatever you're preparing for and wherever you are in your journey that you are being prepared.